What is going on, guys? My name is Josh. Welcome back to the Shuffle Squad channel. Today, I am bringing you a brand new meta forecast for this week's late night events, number 73 and 74, taking place this Tuesday, February 14th at 12 p.m. Eastern and 7 p.m. Eastern. You do not want to miss these events. They are generally thought of as the premier online weekly tournaments. And right now, if you make it all the way to the Invitational at the end of the season, the winner will be receiving a free trip to the World Championships in Yokohama, Japan. That is your airfare, that's your hotel, as well as a meet and greet with the entire Shuffle Squad, myself included, all of the people on the team. You're going to get to meet us and, hang out for a little bit. But yeah, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be going over some recent results leading into this week's late night event. There were no regionals in the past week, so just online stuff we're really going to be looking at. But since the Orlando regionals a couple weekends ago, we've really seen a Lugia dominated field. So I'm interested to see how the online events have sort of been adapting to such a strong finish from what is and will be for the rest of this format, the best deck in the format. So without further ado, we are going to hop right in and look at some of these online tournament results. So the first tournament that we are going to be taking a look at is the Tournament of Doom. It was I believe 74 person event that ended up with a Lugia win. Let's take a look at the list, see if there's anything particularly spicy in this one, or if it's relatively standard. We do see the 3-2 Lugia that was oh so popular at the Orlando Regionals. This looks very, very similar to the list that ended up winning the event. It looks like there is the Dunsparce in there. Maybe this is closer to Isaiah Bradner's list, who got second place at the event, playing the Dunsparce, playing the 2 Choice Belt, the 2 Lost Vacuum. A very, very strong list. There's nothing particularly crazy about it. It is a thin Lugia count as well as large Choice Belt and Lost Vacuum. People have been liking that quite a lot. The 2 Choice Belt is very good for the mirror. The 2 Lost Vacuum also quite good for getting rid of your opponent's Choice Belts in mirror, getting rid of Temple of Sinnoh if you need to do that. No Wash Energy included in this list, so no way to really protect the Manaphy from that Sableye, but instead opting for a Bird Keeper, lots of pretty standard stuff. I do like the Bird Keeper. I know a couple lists were starting to take the Bird Keeper out. I do think as Lugia sort of accelerates to its number one spot again, we're at the pinnacle of, BDIF wins because people aren't countering it as hard. Paradecks are going to be a lot more popular. And I think that Bird Keeper serves as a way to sort of counteract some of those paralyzed decks a little bit better. But yeah, they were able to take down Mew Genesect in the finals. I have to say I'm quite surprised that Mew Genesect is doing as well as it has been doing thus far in the format. I was kind of on the bandwagon of, Mew Genesect falling off the face of the earth with the implementation of Crown Zenith. Skyseal Stone Drapion is a very effective counter to Mew, but it's not as splashable as you might think. And if you can assume, right, that about 30% of the meta is going to be Lugia, you're expecting some Gudra, some Reggie, some Mew. All of those matchups are not going to be playing the Drapion Skyseal Stone. Really, the one deck that you would be worried about it in is the Lost Box deck. And it seems, at least based on Orlando, that not many people opted for that route. The Multiple Path to the Peak, the Roxanne, are both effective counters to Drapion without Skyseal Stone, but with Drapion Skyseal Stone, you are able to knock out a Genesect, get them out of Roxanne range, and then just go Drapion Skyseal Stone, knock out a Mew VMAX for game, which is very, very strong, in my opinion. So I thought the Mew was going to be doing a little bit worse than it has been, but not too surprised to see that. We do have an other here. Interested to see what's going on there. Let's get it. Let's get it. There it is. Solrock Lunatone. God, it's beautiful. A thing of beauty. This getting third place at a relatively large online event is pretty impressive, I have to say. So kudos to Mojelly 302 for taking this one to a relatively good finish. Solrock Lunatone is not a bad deck by any means. I think it's pretty all right, all things considered. It's decent into Lugia, but it does really struggle against the Lost Box deck. So, Sableye is quite a problem for this deck, and the Radiant Greninjas can be a huge problem if they're able to take out the Manaphy. So I do think this may have been just a lucky matchmaking, right? Yeah, no lost box. No lost box the entire tournament, losing to that Mew VMAX deck in the finals. But that's cool. Still a cool deck to make a run with. We do see Arc Duraludon in that 4th place spot. Let's see what they lost. They must have lost to the Lugia, right? Let's look at this deck list. Looks like 2 different kinds of Duraludon V. That's interesting. I wonder what the point of this Duraludon V is, but I think this is a safe bet for some Arceus that you're going to be seeing. I know there's been an Arceus Flying Pikachu Vulpix deck that's been flying around recently, but I do think generally the Arc Duraludon is going to be the predominant Arceus variant you're going to see. Only 3 stadiums. Opting for 3 stadiums is a little bit risky for me. I think you could definitely go down to the 2 Hyper Potion, play the extra Temple of Sinnoh, because it is quite good into Lugia. Playing Marnie, forcing them to bump Temple and Parasol to take the Amazing Rare Eviltal knockout, I think is very, very strong. Especially if early game you're able to boss orders and Archeops and sort of stop them from getting that pace with the Eviltal. I think, personally, I think Arceus Duraludon is in a very, very good spot. I would not be surprised to see it do well at OCIC. And if it doesn't do well at OCIC, I would not be surprised to see it do well in Knoxville. So I think it's one to keep your eye on for right now. Let's see. Any other fun stuff that we can see here? Looks like there is some control action over here. Nothing too crazy on this list either. I haven't seen too much of the Ditto control that got 18th at Orlando in these online events. It's been interesting not seeing that, because you would expect a cool deck like that to sort of pick up in popularity, but relatively standard not lost box control deck here. 4 Eviltal, 3 Snorlax. The unfazed fat Snorlax is so good. I really, really think this card is incredibly good in this deck. And opting for the Ice Q instead of the Flying Pika like Sander played, this is closer to what Azul and fellow Shuffle Squad member Grant Manley played to the Orlando Regional Championships. Do love that Sandile, the dredge up attack. Discard the top 3 cards of your opponent's deck. You need 4 energy, but it's only 2 twin, and once you run your opponent out of energy, it gives you a much faster win condition. So I do like that, especially because you can Thornton the Snorlax into it. So kind of surprised to see it doing well in an online event. Usually you don't see control doing too well because it's hard to finish games, but we do have Reggies here. Pretty standard list from what it looks like. 3 of the Gigas, 3 of the Lecky, only 2 Registeel. Some people play the 1. They are playing the Energy Lotto. I don't like the Energy Lotto, but, Reggies is a very good deck. I think it's a pretty expected deck to be doing well. They are playing 4 Battle VIP Pass. That's interesting. Yeah, 4 Battle VIP Pass is really interesting. Typically, you don't want to play Battle VIP Pass because if you don't hit one turn 1, it can really clog up your hands, make it difficult to Dragon's Horde. And you're only playing, 2 Ultra Ball, 4 Quick. It's a little hard to get them out of the hand for the Regidrago. So I don't love the Battle VIP Pass. I think they're better off as other slots in the deck, but, that's just my opinion. No Path to the Peak either. Just 3 Pokestop. Very interesting. So maybe a Turbo Reggie's build. Doesn't seem too terrible, but no Path to the Peak, I think, will make you struggle just a bit into the Lugia matchup and quite a lot into the Arceus Duraludon matchup. So I don't know that I would recommend playing this version of the deck, but good for Huntingmon, making it to the top 8 of this tournament. Let's see the Zorobox. I love a Zorobox deck. I'm a huge fan. Looking pretty standard. The Cleavor is not something that I've seen too much. Reizu, search your deck for 3 evolution Pokemon is quite good. I don't even know what Probopass does. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with the active Pokemon. Attack does 60 damage to the new active. Okay, so it's like stall. You can stall with this. That seems interesting. Throzan's backup is cool. Ordinary Rod makes sense. No Rescue Carrier is quite interesting. Kind of surprising to me, but other than that, relatively standard list. I think it looks cool. I love Zorobox. I think it's a touch inconsistent for the format. Lugia just does too much too fast for you to be that inconsistent. So But yeah, that's the top 8. I'm not going to look at the other Lugia deck because, it's just Lugia. I think everyone's maybe a little bit sick of seeing Lugia lists, but we can take a look at the one Gudra that bubbled ninth. They are playing some of the same stuff that we played in Orlando that my testing group did, with Alex Schmansky, Michael Bergerac, and Alex Kreckler. The 2/3 Gudra with the Thornton, I think, is incredibly strong. I don't love the one Marnie, one Roxanne. I think two Roxanne is almost exclusively better, especially with the Thornton. A lot of the time, what you want to do is come back by getting yourself into a lone Gudra position. Only one big Parasol. Burge also only played the one big Parasol because he had never played the deck and he regretted that. I'm a bit surprised to see just one Parasol here, but uh, more power, more power. I think that's not too bad. This list looks good. I am a big fan of the Gudra. I think it's a little tough in best of one format when it is a little bit prone to taking some awkward bricks, especially with the Drapion V. Um, but yeah, this is pretty standard what we expect. Not too many Lost Box decks in the top. The highest Lost Box deck, like true Lost Box deck, is a Ray Lost Box at 4/3. So not seeing too much of that, but other than that, relatively expected. The Lunatone Soul Rock is pretty cool. So I enjoy this quite a lot. And then yeah, we see the final results are the same as the standings. So yeah, let's move on to the next tournament. Okay, so the next one we're going to be looking at is the Trust Your Feet PTCG Live Tournament, number 13. It was about 84 players, I think, is what it was. 81 players. And the Ricardo Totti, a great online player who's been playing, these online events since early pandemic, um, was able to take down the win with Mew VMAX. I'm going to go ahead and open the image. Similar to the list that we saw in the last tournament. Only 2 lost vacuums this time. Only 2 Path to Peaks as well, but rocking that big Parasol, I think, very, very strong. I would not play Mew without big Parasol right now. Just a super consistent Mew list here. I mean, tons of 4-ofs that you're going to use to thin your deck out and do extra damage. It's standard Mew. This is a very, very solid and consistent list. I think that's kind of what you have to play right now if you're playing Mew. So not surprised to see a good player and a strong deck winning this tournament. Let's look at the Gudra list. Fun Gudra list. It looks close to Stefan's list, a little bit closer to his than to um, the kind of list that the Sosas played and then we played in Orlando. But they are playing the 3/2 Quick Ball Battle VIP Pass split. 3 Boss Orders, 2 Marnie, 3 Temple of Sinnoh, 2 Big Parasol. Yeah, I think this is definitely more in lines of what I like. Personally, I think 1 Drapion is not great. If I was playing Drapion, I would play 2 Drapion. 1 Drapion, in my opinion, doesn't win you the Mew matchup. It just sort of stops you from losing the Mew matchup. It makes it like slightly worse than a 50-50 in my testing and experience. 2 Drapion, however, auto wins you the matchup, especially in closed deck list. I mean, in open deck list as well, because realistically, what can they do against 2 Drapion? I just would never play 1. I think at that point, you'd rather just be consistent, because if you go first and you get yourself to a lone Gudra position when they've used 2 power tablets, which in my experience really is not that hard to do, you can still find wins. In Orlando, I played against Mew in 2 rounds. I 2-0'd the one that I played in day 1, and then day 2, I went second. In round 1 of day 2, I went second, and I prized a Gudra V, and my opponent lost zoned my only one, and I lost that game, but I was able to win game 2. I don't think the Drapion is entirely necessary for this matchup, and I don't think just 1 wins the matchup significantly enough that it's worth the amount of times that you are starting Drapion. Because you look here, you have 4 Comfey and then 6 cards that are not Comfey, right? And starting Gudra or starting Drapion is not really what you want to do in the deck. You're sort of fine starting Cram, starting Radiant Greninja, but starting Drapion and starting Gudra V are not good. And now you have an equal chance of starting Comfey as you do Gudra or Drapion. So I think that in general, I'd probably drop the Drapion, but other than that, I think the list looks very strong. No Roxanne is interesting, but Rayquaza Loxbox is not very popular on online tournaments. For some reason, people just don't like to play that deck to online events. And that's really what the Roxanne is for. So we will move on from Goodra. Take a look at something else here. Let's see. Weezing Crobat. What an interesting deck. I'm going to go ahead and open the image. Weezing Crobat had a decent performance at Orlando, if I remember correctly, as well. A really fun deck. The 4 Boost Shake, 4 Crushing Hammer, 4 Fan of Waves, going for that lone Weezing strategy. And then, yeah, the Leafy Camo Poncho as well to stop your opponents from going boss on the Crobat VMAX, especially if you're playing against Lugia. I would love, I'm really on the Thornton hype train lately, but I think it'd be really cool to have Thornton in this deck so you don't have to bench the 2 prizers early, but it's a little tough when you do want to be evolving your coughing and stuff like that. I do think this list is very fun. I'm not sure that Crobat Weezing is actually a viable deck, that it's actually like good enough, but I do think that that it's cool. Let's see if I can find the I know somebody played it to Orlando. I don't think it did like incredibly well, but yeah, there you go. 43rd place, top 64, with a very similar list to what we saw. 4-4 Weezing in this one though, and then pretty similar cards other than that. So yeah, I think this deck is a lot of fun. I hope to see this do well, but I wouldn't expect too many going into the late night tournaments this week. You have another Lugia, another Goodra. Let's look at the Palkia and Teleon. That's something we haven't seen too much of. Ian Robb was able to play this deck to 10th place finish in Orlando. I've been putting a lot of time into this deck since then. I do think Palkia is in a cool spot in the meta. Really, I think Palkia is in a very, very interesting spot. So I would not be too surprised to see this deck doing well at another event. But yeah, you got the Inteleon line, the 2-2 Palkia, 2 Articuno with the Wild Freeze for the Paralysis, Crab V, Ice Cube, Drapion, Radiant Greninja, Manaphy. It's very standard Palkia deck with the Articuno. There is some debate about whether or not the deck is an Articuno deck that plays Palkia or a Palkia deck that plays Articuno. I don't think it matters, but I think the deck is in a very strong spot. I love Thornton. I think Thornton is one of the best cards in the format right now. I think it is unlikely that I will play a deck that does not have Thornton in it to a single event this season. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see Palkia doing well this week either, especially piloted by myself. Because right now I'm planning on playing Palkia to late night this week. Let's see if this one's any different. Yeah, it is a little bit different. You can see it's an Ice Rider Palkia build. 3-3 Palkia, 2-1 Ice Rider Calyrex, no Articuno. This is kind of surprising to see. Path to the Peak is nice. No Temple of Sinnoh either. Kind of surprised to see this doing that well, to be honest. The V-Guard energy in Lugia, I would think, would sort of stop this from being that successful. But I guess if you get a board established quickly enough, maybe it doesn't matter. But yeah, this is really interesting. I'm surprised to see such a high placement for Palkia Ice Rider, but honestly, very awesome for Flamer. It looks like is their name for taking such a high placement with Palkia Ice Rider. Again, I don't know that I would expect to see this deck doing too well at the top tables in the late night, but yeah, definitely something to keep your eye on. And then this, I think, is what I was talking about, yeah, earlier. The Arceus Flying Pikachu Vulpix deck got second at the late night EU, I believe, is what it was. This deck is cool. It's meant to counter anything with abilities, any basic Pokemon, between Flying Pikachu and Alolan Vulpix, you cover a lot of the field. I do think Alolan Vulpix is very strong right now. It doesn't get around some stuff. It doesn't get around the some of the things like Arceus Duraludon. Duraludon obviously has Shred, so that would be maybe a tough matchup for you. But this is good into the likes of Goodra. Goodra can attack with the Goodra V into Vulpix, and then you sort of two-shot each other, but you do take the opportunity away for them to heal themselves, which is pretty good. You are playing the Sharon's Care, so you can sort of win the war of attrition there, just sort of depending on what they have. But yeah, I think this deck is very cool. I don't think it's quite as good as Arceus Duraludon, personally. I think Arceus Duraludon is a better deck overall than this is, but there's something to be said about stopping your opponent from playing the game, right? And decks like these will always have some sort of place in the meta because, if your opponent is just not playing counters to these cards, then you win. You will win the game. So I would be ready for this deck to make at least some amount of appearance in the late night this week. But that is it for the top 8 there. There's nothing too much else that I was interested in showing you guys, but let's see. Just look and see if there's any other interesting decks here. There is a Lost Box at 9th place. We haven't really gone over any Lost Box yet. It's Sablezard. Interesting. Sablezard's not exactly what you would expect to be doing well at the moment. If I was going to prep you guys for any Lost Box, it would probably be the Kyogre Lost Box. I think that one is slightly more popular, prevalent generally in the online events. That being said, I think Lost Box is definitely the deck that is the most different online versus in tournaments. People don't play Ray at all online. They refuse to play Ray online. And then you play it in a tournament, and there's quite a bit of it. You almost never see Ray doing well in these online events, but then you look at the likes of Nick Moffitt, who made top 4 with Ray at the most recent regionals. My good buddy Tyler Matthews made top 16 with the deck, so it's definitely strong. I like Sablezard. It's not my favorite. I think that Sablezard is in a bit of an awkward spot. It's hard to get the amount of damage down onto the field that you need for Sablezard to be as successful as it once was. I do miss this deck, but yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about this one at all. But yeah, I can't wait for the late night this week. I will just show you guys real quick where you can go to sign up. If you go to play.limitless.com, go to tournaments, and then right down here, you will see late night 73 and 74. And I cannot wait to see you all on the next one. Have a good night.
The Shuffle Squad is proudly sponsored by Atlas Collectibles, the best place to buy any trading card game product online. Visit atlastcg.com and at the checkout screen, make sure to use code TSS12 to save an unbeatable 12% off your entire order. Atlas Collectibles will ship your product anywhere in the world, so make sure you're taking advantage of the 12% savings with TSS12. And if Pokemon is not your thing, don't worry. Go to atlastcg.com and see all the other amazing trading card game products they have there to offer.
The Shuffle Squad is partnered with PTCGO Store to provide our community with the best access to Pokemon TCG codes. They have codes available 24/7, instant email delivery, and you can save 5% off by using code TSS5. If you're a YouTube member or Patreon supporter, you'll have access to a special code that gets you 10% off. So what are you waiting for? Use code TSS5 today and save 5% on your next order of codes on any codes available at ptcgostore.com.
Are you trying to be the best like no one ever was? Now is your time. Head on over to Metafy.gg and search out all our amazing Pokemon TCG coaches where you can book all sorts of training plans ranging from deck help to full season sessions with your favorite coach. What a great way to up your game. Check out Metafy.gg in the description below and take your game to the next level. Challenge yourself against trainers from around the world to compete for the biggest online prizing yet.
Are you ready for an unbelievable tournament unlike anything else you've ever seen before? The Shuffle Squad is proud to announce our newest tournament series, the Late Night Event, with an amazing grand prize that's bound to have you excited.
Players can compete via play.limitless.tcg.com's online tournament platform every Tuesday to get a chance to earn weekly prizes. And every week, your placement in the tournament is tallied by points based on your best finishes to earn your rank for the Late Night Invitational event.
The series will be conducted starting February 7th of 2023 and carry all the way through to the Invitational on July 9th of 2023, where the top players will be rewarded the grand prizing.
And the grand prize is a signed jersey and photo op with the entire Shuffle Squad, as well as a fully paid trip to the Pokemon World Championships in Yokohama, Japan. This includes hotel and airfare, whether you're a player or a spectator.
Don't forget to check out all the live coverage on our YouTube and Twitch channel of the top cuts of these events for every week. And subscribe so you can get notified where to watch the Late Night Events Invitational brought to you by the Shuffle Squad. Now get out there and start winning. We'll see you in Japan.